Last November, Capcom fell victim to a cyber attack that leaked a ton of Resident Evil projects that were under development. Most of the leaked games are pretty well known by people now, being the Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 9, and Resident Evil Outrage. But there is one leaked game that really stands out to me from the rest, and surprisingly, no one is really talking about it. The leaked game I'm going to talk about is Resident Evil Hunk. The only info we have for this game is a leaked release date set for Q4 of 2024. Now, due to the title having the word Hunk in it, it does seem possible that this could be a codename referring to the fan favorite character Hunk. Now, I think we can all agree at this point that Hunk needs to make a return to this series since he has been absent for quite some time now. But the thing is, we really don't even know what happened to Hunk after the Raccoon City incident. Right after Resident Evil 2, he did have one more mission, which was to deliver special cargo from Umbrella's transport terminal in the Antarctic to Rockford Island. But ever since then, he has been absent from the Resident Evil story. So what has he been doing this whole time? The question is really up in the air for speculation. There is a good chance that he has just been laying low to avoid government persecution, but it's also argued that he is so good at hiding his identity that he is not even worried about going into hiding, which I do think is more likely. With that being said, since he is so good at hiding his identity, what if he has been involved in the series this entire time? With him keeping his identity hidden, there's really no way of knowing. Specifically, I want to take a look back at Resident Evil 7 and 8. At the end of Resident Evil 7, we can see Blue Umbrella show up to investigate the Baker's house. When they arrive, we can see that they are protecting their identity with their masks. We get a better look of this at the ending cutscene for the End of Zoe DLC. At the end, we see Chris and some troops all storm the house, and as you can see, they are all masked up, so there's no way of knowing who these people are. Like, what if this soldier that just stormed into the house is Hunk? We will never know, at least for now. And what's even more interesting is that in Resident Evil 7, it was said that there are many at Blue Umbrella that were also part of the old Umbrella. Hunk, as we know, was the best soldier working for Umbrella. So with his insane skill and combat experience, he would fit perfectly as a member of Blue Umbrella. Same thing can be said about Chris's Hound Wolf Squad in Resident Evil 8. In concept art, we actually do get some information on them. It states from the left to right, you have Umber Eyes, a veteran sniper, K9, a young dog handler, Lobo, a machine gunner, Night Owl, which works with communications, and Tundra, a former undercover agent for the DEA. Once again, we have a similar situation where 4 out of the 5 troops are completely concealed and their identities hidden. I do believe that it is very well possible that one of these troops could be Hunk, because when Chris picked his crew, he probably decided on the best of the best, but also people he could rely on. And what do you know, Hunk fits both of those categories. Now, at the end of Resident Evil 8, we do learn that the BSAA has been creating bioweapon clones of Chris. We can see that Chris is clearly angered and makes it pretty clear that he is going to get his revenge. With that said, it is likely that this will be a setup for a future Resident Evil game. There are some people thinking that this mission will be in the Resident Evil 8 DLC, but I really don't think it will be. The reason I'm doubtful is because Capcom stated after the game was released that they didn't have plans to make DLC, but changed their mind due to high demand. So if they didn't plan the DLC till after finishing the Resident Evil 8 story, then that tells me that the ending has nothing to do with the DLC and is planned for a future Resident Evil game instead. But anyways, like I was saying, the setup for a future Resident Evil game will most likely feature Chris and the Hound Wolf Squad infiltrating the BSAA and taking out all of the bioweapons that they have created. With that said, this would be the perfect time for Hunk to make his appearance in the game, or if he currently isn't working for Blue Umbrella, this would be a perfect opportunity for Hunk to team up with Chris and take out all of the bioweapons. With this, Hunk could be a playable character, or maybe we can even see a similar partner system with Resident Evil 5. With all that said, a lot of people think this story I just went over is going to be Resident Evil 9. What if this setup is actually for the leaked Resident Evil Hunk game? To me, it just seems like a very solid setup for Hunk to make his long-awaited appearance. Another thing that's worth mentioning is Resident Evil 7 and 8 were 2 games that took a very different approach to your typical Resident Evil game. 7 was terrifying and had Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, and we also had the new molded enemies instead of zombies. And then in Resident Evil 8, we had all these mythological creatures and unique settings. It's just not typical stuff you would expect to see in a Resident Evil game. With that said, this next setup of storming the BSAA and taking out some BOWs is more like a typical Resident Evil game. With Resident Evil 9 being the last game in a 3-part trilogy, I do think it's more likely that Capcom will keep the same approach of 7 and 8 by going outside of the box and making something unique. Now, even if everything I just brainstormed is totally inaccurate, then maybe this Resident Evil Hank game could go through Hunk's backstory. Hunk is easily the most mysterious character in the Resident Evil franchise, as we know little to nothing about him. So I do think it would be necessary to play through Hunk's perspective during the Raccoon City incidents, as well as explore his backstory in depth. In this game, it would cover his special training on Rockford Island, cover his mission of obtaining a G-Virus sample, and covering his mission of delivering cargo to Rockford Island. It's time that Capcom finally uncovers the many mysteries of the Grim Reaper. And that is what I got for this video. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts about this leaked game. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.